First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Ephraim Osunde, and I'm currently the chairperson of the nominating committee for the 2023 elections. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria, and this is the first of the 3 sessions that we plan to hold to provide some engagement with the members regarding the 2023 elections. And the 3 sessions have been selected to coincide with the time zones of the different regions. So for this session today, we're basically looking at Africa as well as Europe and Middle East. But of course, those from other regions can join, and I do welcome to join as it's convenient for them. But essentially, the other sessions that we'll be holding will be July 20th, which will be 6 p.m. Singapore time. And then we have July 27th, which will also be 6 p.m. Central American time. And this will be targeted at the regions that are in those time zones. So Asia, Oceania for July 20th, and then you have the other regions, North America, as well as the other region for July 27th. So just to let you know, as we've already seen, that the session will be recorded for 3 main reasons. First of all, to give those who may not be present in today's session an opportunity to hear and see what has gone on. Number 2, to give those who are going to be hosting the next 2 sessions a template for them to build on, leverage on, and of course, make better for their own session. And of course, thirdly, like I shared with the panelists, we're likely to take excerpts from today's session and use for social media promotion for the other 2 sessions. So make sure that you're at your best, whether you're asking questions or whether you're participating. So this is going to be something we will share. So the purpose of today's meeting is twofold. First of all, to bring further information to members about the elections, just to communicate more and detailed information, answer any questions that people may have about the elections. And secondly, provide more motivation in terms of hearing the experience of past and present board members regarding their time on the board. There seems to be this perception that board membership is for a select special people that have supreme intelligence to be on the board. But like I said, we want to demystify board membership so that people can realize that they can be members, and then they either would decide to stand now or work towards it in the future, or they will persuade someone they know to stand, so that we have a richer pool of candidates. And this will build the future, like I said, somewhere sustainability of our cherished organization. And so one of the things I'd like to quickly do at this instance is to share more information about the election, and then we will have the conversation from the panelists about their experience on the board. And then lastly, in terms of the agenda, we will have question and answers. In between each presentation or each conversation, we can take some questions so as to ensure that there's no monotony in terms of the presentation. And we want to encourage those who may be leaders here to feel free to repeat these sessions at local chapters using the same format, and whatever information that you need, we'll be glad to provide. So now let me go straight to the first purpose, which is to inform about the election. So as you recall, nominations opened on June 27th or thereabout and is currently on. There's a call for nomination. we plan to close the call for nomination on August 13th. And so, Gerardo, if you could share that schematic about the elections so that they can see it.
Yeah, I will do in a second. Yeah.
Oh, all right, I'll wait for you.
Here it is.
All right, great. So we would close the nominations August 13th, as you can see, and then we would be announcing the slate of candidates on August the 18th. And then on September the 7th, the voting will open, and then voting closes September 18th. And between the close of votes and September 26th, we would be counting, analyzing, and summarizing the results and presenting to the board for announcement on September 26th. Hopefully, the new board members will be announced on that day. And our job will end for that period. So what I'd like to share with you also next is the at the open position. So again, if you will please, if you can share that, there are 6 open positions, 3 regional director roles and 3 other roles. So the open positions are the position of secretary, which anyone across the world, the globe can stand in for. The second open position is the director of marketing and communications. And the third is the director of member experience. So these 3, anyone who feels he or she is qualified can stand in. The others are the regional director for Asia, regional director for Europe and Middle East, and then the regional director for North America. And so these 3 obviously are restricted to members from those particular regions: Asia, Europe and Middle East, and North America. And so for further information, please feel free to contact us, contact the office or via the elections email. And so I would like to now go to the second part. Maybe just ask if anyone has any question about elections. You want to put it on the chat so that we can quickly answer it. Any question, feel free to put it on the chat. And we can provide, we can provide this material to you who haven't registered by your email addresses. So we will provide them to you. I would like to then welcome John to share his experience for the next 3, 4, 5 minutes. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Ephraim. I was really hoping I wouldn't be first, but anyway, you've chosen me to be first. So good evening, everyone. And I am in Kenya. I now live in Mombasa. Used to live in Nairobi. And I was regional director in Africa 2015 to 2018. So I did two-year terms. And it's good that Gerardo mentioned this thing about being resident, because I am resident in this continent and originally from UK, but I've lived here the whole of this century. Yeah, that sounds impressive, I think. Anyway, it was a great honor to be approached when I first became regional director, and a bit of a shock. The person before me actually recommended me, which was very flattering, but a big surprise. Anyway, so I did 2 terms, and I just tried to pick out a few moments that really were very interesting, if you like, for different reasons. One, when I became regional director, we had about 11 members in Africa. Nowadays, there's more than 100. So you can see Sophie has got a very different task to the one I had when I started. I could afford to write. The first thing I did was I wrote to everybody individually. I did a personalized email because I thought the first thing is to get to know. I knew some people, but not all of them. That's a bit hard to do when you've got 100 plus, and in Europe, I don't know how many there is now, 400 or 500 maybe. So it's a very different thing. Another thing that I'm really pleased about that I started working on towards the end, if you like, or the last couple of years, and it's now really taking shape over time, is the development of a leadership team. So I think if you are a regional director, you've got hopefully a lot of support from your leadership team, and they're the people who can, work together with you. So you're not on your own. That's the first thing. And I think that's probably true whether you're in communications, for example. You would ideally have a group of people who are working with you, who are volunteering with you, and so on with the other roles. I think some of the benefits for me were particularly networking. I love networking. Those of you who know me know that. But I found it so exciting just to be part of a global team, global board, to meet people in person and of course a lot online. And many of those connections continue to this day. And there's a whole load of people that I just call on who I was on the board with and say, can you help with this? Can you help with that? So it's really a great network in so many ways. I think professional development is another thing that I got out of it, because just by being with lots of different facilitators from different sectors. I work in the development sector. I work a lot on social inclusion or diversity, equity and inclusion. So I know lots of people in that field, but then one of the first people I met was from Australia, and we met at a board meeting in Indonesia, and we're just getting to know each other. And he told me he works for the revenue authority, the tax people. And I'm like, what? What do you do as a facilitator? But he explained to me they had a team of facilitators, and it really helps the work they do. As we know, facilitation is a very powerful thing. And he said the collection rates went up like this, within a very short period of time. So I haven't yet managed to talk to the Kenya Revenue Authority to share the idea. But I think my point is that it was fascinating to meet people from very different backgrounds, working in very different sectors, and really learning so much, and different tools and different methods. So the other thing I'd like to say is to the people who've come to maybe find out more, those who I know, and you know who I'm talking about, I looked at the names, I looked at the faces, and I thought, this person is more than capable of being an excellent board member. And I really mean that, so you may or may not decide to run this year, but please think about it in the future, because I think it's very exciting that there are elections every year and the board is constantly revolving. So there's always new people coming in, always bringing new life and new energy. And also it prevents that thing of a few people holding on to something for so long. So there must have been hundreds and hundreds of people have been on the board since IAF was established. And I think that's a really exciting thing. And I think there's great opportunities for people. If I can tell you, when I started as regional director, I'd only been a member about 2 or 3 years. So some people might be feeling like you're very new, oh, I'm not ready for it. No. Actually, I was convinced at the time, you just go for it, you can do a good job. And if not the board, then, there's always the leadership teams that you can get involved in. There's many, many areas that you can get involved in volunteering with IAF. And that's me done. Good evening, Rena. Back to you, Ephraim.
I'd like to invite Shada. Shada, like I introduced, is the current treasurer, serving a second term of 2 years as treasurer of IAF. So share with us your experience as a board member. We know the role of treasurer is not open, so don't worry, you're safe. So we just
talk about safe. I've only got one. Well, there's this year to finish, and then next year, and there's a reason why I chose to stand for re-election. But also, I don't know why people don't seem to want to go for the treasurer role. But despite that, I must tell you, both times it was very gratifying for me, the number of people who actually voted for me. And one of the things about winning a seat on the board of the IAF is that, you know, firstly, there is real criteria. And secondly, you have to justify why you think you are actually fit for this role. So when people vote for you and when you actually win the position, you know you're worthy of the position. And that's fairly significant. I must also point out that I didn't think of standing for the board. John asked me to co-facilitate a session with him. The chair was going to address the members across the continent. And so John asked him while we were, you know, having a quiet session afterwards, so what positions are coming up this year, you know, and who's going to be the new people on the board? And he said, well, you know, John, the other person who's here with us should consider standing for the board. And I thought, goodness, I would never have thought of that. And I had only been on the board for 4 years at that point. I beg your pardon, I had been a member. As John has mentioned, you know, there's a network. However, it's a big network, let me tell you. It's a network that goes across the planet in very significant ways. Again, John was involved with people in Indonesia, and during COVID, there was a session where there were facilitators across the world. And the group in Indonesia thought, what can they do during COVID? So they introduced facilitation to people who were not facilitators. And it, you know, in the middle of COVID, I have to tell you, it felt like sheer magic to be facilitating. My co-facilitator was an Indonesian. We prepared together, and it was such joy to be involved in that. The other thing is that I hadn't realized it, but it's actually an opportunity to market oneself. And there was not too long ago a meeting with the client, and this was about working with cooperatives. And so when we talked about who were the people I was going to bring in to work with the cooperatives, I said that one of the criteria is they have to learn how to facilitate. And if they don't know, then I will train them in terms of facilitation, because you can't have people working on the ground who don't understand really good facilitation. It's kind of a key criteria for work in development. I also work in development. I'm a development economist. And the way I came into facilitation was working with people to generate products and programs to promote economic development, and facilitation is an essential skill. I beg your pardon, essential skill in the field. I want to mention very quickly that when you come on board, Gerardo's already put on the board roles. One of the things that makes it easier to come on as a board member is that procedures and roles are very clearly defined. And as treasurer, you know, I was given this manual by Julia, the current chair. It took a while for me to learn what was in the manual, but Julia was also my buddy, which is another thing about coming onto the board. You are set up with a person who's your buddy, who works with you, who coaches you, who makes sure that you actually understand what you're doing. And the other thing is that if you're on the board, I mean, certainly in my case, yeah, you're kind of a working board member. Apart from, you know, attending meetings, you as chair, as treasurer, I need to make sure that budgets are drawn up, and they're drawn up on time and approved by the board in, you know, all the proper procedural ways. I have to approve finances, but I also have limits on how much I can approve. I approve with other board members. So, you know, procedurally, things are very sound within the IAF. And so that makes it a good reason and an easier board to come onto. I would say to you, if you're standing for any position, please make sure that you understand what the role involves. And the other thing I should mention, and that I really appreciate, is that board members of the IAF are, you know, we're facilitators. So we're open people, we're happy to chat. If you want to chat to any board members, by all means, please do approach them. And finally, I also have to make sure that audits happen and that I present the state of the finances to the membership. So, you know, you have real power and responsibility. It's not a token position. And the most important thing about being a board member is that you have the opportunity to influence the course of the organization. Organizations are generally, they need to be responsive organizations, and they need to be evolving organizations. Nothing should be static. We need to be consistently looking at where we are. Are we doing well? Are we meeting members' needs? Are we responding to what's going on in the environment? And when you're a board member, you have the opportunity to do that. So please do think about it and approach us. I think lots of board members would be willing to talk to you if you have any questions, any discussion you wish to have. Thank you, Ephraim. Thank you for this opportunity.
I'd like us to welcome Sophie. Let's give it up for Sophie. Sophie, welcome. Sophie is the current regional director for Africa, and she'll be sharing her own experience. Thank you. Sophie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ephraim, and thank you, Shada and John, for sharing your experience. Yes, my name is Sophie Kange, the current Regional Director for Africa, and I'm calling in from Kampala. Thank you everyone for making time for this meeting. Now, it's exciting, but also challenging to speak after your predecessors have spoken. But one thing that is exciting for me and to tell my journey onto the board was the support system that I got to build my confidence, to also empower me. And I remember I was contacted by John and Shada. We had a conversation. Before, I think I was then in my second, almost third year. And so I told them, well, I don't feel confident and ready since I'm still new and learning about IAF. So, but also then I had a number of engagements at my workplace. And so honestly, I said, if I need to bring value to IAF, then I need also to commit time to be ready to serve. So they were willing, but like John said earlier, if he has talked to you and you're not ready, think about it. Don't give up the hope. You can serve at some other time. So 1 year down the road, I was ready. I was passionate and I was committed to serve at the board. And so this year I started my journey as the regional director for IAF with commitment and passion. And so through this process, like we are doing now, there's been a support mechanism to actually nurture leadership. And that's one thing that I value leading at IAF. There is this whole family that is willing and ready to support you through the journey. But as you know, being on the board, you are tasked to play critical roles, give strategic direction, and overall, to ensure the overall functioning of the association, because everything rises and falls on leadership. And then leadership encompasses different tasks to deliver. And so as any other organization, serving on the board gives you opportunity to be part of the governance and decision-making process. The leadership and representation, carrying the African flag is exciting, empowering, but also an opportunity to serve your region. So that gives you, that energy and, that profiling. Shada told us that it opens you to the network, the global network. So people are knowing me from Africa, and I'm connected to Europe, to Asia, to name it. to the Americas. I mean, it's exciting. And then also the part of collaboration and relationship building. I've had engagements working with all the board members across the world. And there's been a number of collaborative areas to create, to discuss and make resolutions on certain aspects, but also referrals. I remember Rebecca, our current vice chair, referred me to an opportunity with her colleagues in Europe. And I was like, wow, so this is exciting, also being part of the IAF leadership. Someone knows you, but I've got connected to many others. But also the other important role as a board member is on how you continue evaluating and ensuring continuous improvement of the association itself. John told you he started with around 30 or 40 members. I'm now leading over 100 members. What does it take to lead 40 members and what does it take to lead 100 members? But also the context is evolving. So to be part of a process that is supporting the growth of an association, ensuring that we bring value to the members, but also stay relevant in the space is quite an important role that a board member will play. So overall, serving on the board, one needs commitment. Like I told you, I was ready to commit, dedication, be willing to collaborate, but above all, have a deep understanding of the association's mission and purpose. Yeah, so aligned to the mission and purpose of IAF, then we bring as a board our expertise, our networks that we leverage upon to grow the membership, and also our collaborative skills that ensure advancing of the association's goals. So the question I always ask is, what is your personal mission in serving at IAF? Because IAF is us, the members. And if as leaders, we don't have a personal mission that brings value to IAF, then it becomes not of value to the leadership. So what happens in my day as a board member, as a regional director? Well, it's a number of roles, a mix of roles that revolves around supporting the organization's mission. But, and given that we are across different regions, this is also context specific, but there are those key roles that I play as the RD. And in my day or month or what my life as a regional director, one of the things is planning. And this I've also learned through the team. In Africa, we have the leadership team that has been set from the time of John. And so to plan and communicate the plans, the ambitions, the messages is critical for the regional director role. And then collaborating and networking. Who are you working with? I'll work with the team in West Africa, the team in North Africa, East Africa, and the like. So collaborating and bringing life. We are the brand ambassadors of IAF in every space that we are. So, and we nurture and collaborate with different interventions around facilitation. Outreach and promotion, last year we had an exciting experience as East Africa promoting facilitation and nature conservation in Mombasa, who were hosted by John and the facilitators in Kenya. So this outreach also demonstrates the power of facilitation. So to bring practice to facilitation is another role that the RD plays. Yeah, there's also event planning and coordination. Member support and engagement. I speak to different chapters, different regions to encourage, to support, to co-create different events and agendas, but also participate in different activities. Strategic planning is critical. If you don't have a strategy, then you plan to fail. And lastly, encouraging continuous learning and professional development, because as the regional director, you want to have competent and professional facilitators in the region. And this also adds to the value IAF would bring to a region to build competence. And so under this, we have the mentorship program that I'm currently enrolled for, to boost my capacity as a facilitator and get grounded in the values and practices of IAF. We have the endorsed facilitators, and then we have the certified professional facilitation rank. So these require of you to set aside time to research, but also, you know, as a leader, you're not going to lead when you don't have competence, when you don't have knowledge of what it takes to be an excellent facilitator and the brand of IAF. So overall, the role of a regional director requires a bit of administrative tasks to ensure that processes are running well, relationship building, event coordination, and advocacy for facilitation. Remember, we are promoting facilitation worldwide. So we need to keep speaking and speaking, put facilitation in the eyes and ears of everyone to appreciate. We have a challenge where many people mix facilitation with MCing. These are different aspects. And so the profession, there's an advocacy role to actually tell people what the value facilitation brings to the space. And so this calls for adaptability, effective communication, and strong organization skills to ensure that you thrive in your role, but also see processes thriving in Africa. So as I conclude, as a leader, the key question that you would ask yourself is, how ready are you to put time into this? It's a voluntary role, but so rewarding. And what moves me most is that I'm moving in the footsteps of those that have been there before me. And what legacy do I want to leave? Not to shame those that have spent the sleepless night crafting this whole good thing, the jewel of facilitation in the world. And that inspires me, encourages me, but brings me value to serve as a leader at IAF. So I encourage all of you to embrace the challenge. It's exciting, and you won't regret. It's one thing that is pushing me places as a facilitator in my individual capacity, but also to grow my leadership competence world over. So thank you so much, and over to you, Ephraim.
Celeste.
Thank you so much, because I'm here. I'm so willing to share with you my experience, even though I didn't prepare anything. But you know what? I was listening to all of you, and everything resonates with me. I'm Celeste. I'm located in Portugal. I'm Portuguese, and I was the regional director for Europe and Middle East for 3 years, 2019 to 21. And it was amazing because we needed to do it throughout COVID. And it was amazing, yeah? But apart from that, because I have so many stories to tell, what I would like to share with you, it's one of my best experiences as ERD. When I decided to join and really to apply for it, because I was challenged by the previous RD, Miriam, from Finland, I didn't know what I was getting into. I only knew it was volunteer, and for me, volunteering is really voting every day for the world that I look forward. So I decided to go for that, and also to serve the community. And I was amazed with the diversity that I experienced in this position. We in MA have more than 20 chapters. We have more than 40 countries represented. We have 5 different time zones that we need to coordinate in the region, and so many languages and dialects. And it was a huge community. So, and so diverse in the scope of experience, in the scope of knowledge, in the scope of seniority, and and it was amazing. So I wouldn't have had this if I didn't get this position. And I'm so grateful because it's been so rewarding, and it still is so rewarding to be a member, a normal member of IAF. I still contribute in the chapter lead calls. I still contribute in the leadership team for MA as an advisor, quite important, right? And I have lots of fun. I made amazing friends. Many of those are here in this session, and we built so many good connections on top of being facilitators, but specifically because we are people and we really like to connect and share and tell stories and support each other in the good and the bad times. So those of you who are thinking or didn't think yet about applying, go for it. You'll gain the double that you get, that you give. So go for that. Thank you.
If we run too far behind time, then I will hold you responsible.
We will not, because here it's dinner time, so don't worry.
Yes.
So my name is Gerardo Grutzenberger from Italy, and I've been a board member for the past 5 years. I've been the director of professional development for 4 years. I'm currently the vice chair, which is a much more relaxing position than director of professional development, and I will be the chair for the next 2 years. I won't just, I'm echoing all the things that you have heard from my colleagues. They are all, they all stress very important point of being a board member. And I want just to give you an overview of 3 roles that are a standing position at the moment. So we have the secretary. The secretary is really the engine of the board. So it's the person that is working with the others for the board meetings and also for the executive board committee meeting, which is a small committee that is meeting more frequently than the board, and it's organizing and making run the machine. So it could seem a not appealing position, but it's a very important position. You really are challenged in your management abilities and skills, your organization, and also in the way you can lead the group of people and support the group of people that is sitting in the board. We have then the director of marketing and communication. It's in some way a new role. So we have currently we have Shalu, which is Shalu Butcher. She's the director in this moment. You have to deal with communication and marketing. It's a new role because it comes from the merging of 2 different roles we had in the board. We had the director of communication and director of marketing. And in the last year, we come to the decision to merge these 2 positions in just one. So in some way, it's also a role where you need to invent things and understanding how to play this role. As you can imagine, communication is very important, and as well as marketing, because it's about the impact of facilitation. Last role, it's membership experience, which basically it's about everything in this association. So member experience is whatever you do in the association is about member experience. Again, it's a new role. We had in the past, we had the chapter director of membership and chapters. It has changed to membership experience. Currently, we have Archana Pingle, which is the director. And it's again a new position, very strategic in this moment also of the life of the organization, because we have a big project in place at the moment, which is about renewing the membership. And renewing the membership model means also involving all the members, because we are a participatory organization. So in principle, we want to discuss this not just inside the board, but with members. What does it mean to be a member of an association in 2023? What comes, what members need, and what members can give to the association. Let me just also give you some insight from my experience in the board. Okay, so first of all, nobody mentioned that, but it's a nice thing. It's the face-to-face meeting. So every year the board meets face-to-face, and I've been in different parts of the world, because we need to travel and find a place which suits for everyone. And so that's a part of the nice things you get in being in the board. For me, my main experience, because I'm a sole consultant, I mean, I work with a team, but most of my work is with my client directly, has also meant to be in some way on the other part of the relationship. So being the sponsor, being in a management position, testing my management skills, seeing what does it mean, and what kind of, I mean, when I deal with clients now, I can understand also a little bit better what they are asking me, what you need in this position. Okay, you have to rely on volunteer work, of people, and as I always say, if you are a volunteer, you can always step down at a certain moment with no problem, otherwise you're not a volunteer. So, but I mean, working with this, it's a very challenging, very instructive for me. I learned a lot by being in this position. Last thing, I think Sharda mentioned that, but I want to come back to this. So despite you are a good or not facilitator, when clients hear that you are the vice chair or the chair of this association or the director of professional development, they think, and I guess in some way you are also a very strong professionist. So it's also good for your business, I mean. Last thing, it's about time, okay? Because when I remember when I did the handover with Cameron Fraser, which was the director of professional development right before me, he said to me, Gerardo, you can spend all your working day following things of the IAF, and that is a very critical portfolio, by the way, or you can decide how much time you can give to the association. And my experience, my personal experience is that it requires much less time you can expect, provided that you are following up things, you are giving time. So I consider normally around 4 or 5 hours in my week for the association. Sometimes it's a little bit more, but it could be also less. As a director of professional development was a bit more, but I mean, now the vice chair position is very relaxing, as I said, not really a lot to do. And that's all from my side. No, the very last thing is that I strongly invite you to consider to stand, and of course, Secretary, Director of Marketing and Communication, member experience has a very important role. But we need really people with passion in that role and people ready to take the responsibility of doing things. Also, if you're not standing, please help us to also to spread the word and invite people to consider this. So if you know someone that you think could be a good director in that position, invite these people to join and do little things. So, and this is really important for us. We want the election being very involving, engaging for all of us, being in some way a preamble of the work then the director should do in the association. And I am done, Ephraim.